The scent of freshly baked cookies lingers in the air, mingling with the subtle fragrance of lavender diffusers placed strategically around the house. Sunlight filters through the floor-to-ceiling windows, casting a golden glow over the pristine, staged living room. Every throw pillow, every candle, every carefully chosen piece of decor is designed to make buyers feel at home. This is my world now, a world I built with my own two hands. I take a moment to admire my work, smoothing out a wrinkle on the perfectly arranged sofa. The open house is ready. Buyers will be walking in any moment now, eager to claim a piece of the dream I've created. And then I hear it. A voice I haven't heard in years. Well, if it isn't Zara, still trying to sell houses, I see. The sound of his voice is like a nail scraping against glass. I turn, my heart tightening in my chest, and there they are, Ethan and Khloe, my ex-husband and the woman he left me for. They stand in my open house like they belong here, like they have the right to breathe the same air as me after what they did. Ethan, with that smug smirk I used to mistake for charm. Khloe, his perfect little trophy wife, clinging to his arm like a designer handbag. My fingers curl slightly, but I force a polished smile onto my face. I will not give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Ethan. Khloe, I say smoothly. What a surprise, I didn't expect to see you here. Are you looking for a new place? Ethan's arm tightens around Khloe's waist as he chuckles, his tone dripping with mockery. We thought we'd see what you have to offer. I recognize the irony. Years ago, I gave my everything to this man, sacrificed my time, my energy, my love, to support him while he built his career. And in return, he threw me aside like I was nothing, like I was replaceable. Now fate has brought him back into my world. But this time, I hold the power. I clasp my hands together and smile sweetly. Well, I'd be happy to help. Of course, we'll have to find something that fits within your budget. Ethan's jaw tightens. Khloe shifts uncomfortably. And just like that, I know the truth. They're struggling, and I plan to enjoy every second of watching them crumble. There was a time when I would have given anything for Ethan Harper's love. I still remember the day we met. Two broke college kids trying to build a future. He had that boyish charm, the kind that made you believe in forever. I fell fast and I fell hard. When he told me he wanted to become a lawyer, I was his biggest supporter. We were in this together. I worked extra hours, took on side jobs, whatever it took to help keep us afloat while he buried himself in case studies and legal textbooks. Just wait, Zara, he would say, kissing my forehead after pulling another all-nighter. One day, I'll be successful, and we'll have everything we ever dreamed of. I believed him. I cooked his favorite meals. I ironed his shirts before big interviews. I stayed up late helping him memorize courtroom arguments. Every victory, every milestone, I celebrated him, and when he finally passed the bar and opened his own firm, I was so proud. What I didn't realize was that the more successful he became, the smaller I became in his world. At first it was subtle, missed. Date nights, distracted conversations. Then it became obvious. Zara, do we really have to talk about your day? I've been dealing with real problems all day, he'd say, rolling his eyes when I tried to share something about my life. I started walking on eggshells, afraid to upset him. He was always too tired, too busy, too important to bother with me. And yet, I held on. I told myself it was just a rough patch, that things would get better, that one day he'd look at me the way he used to. But that day never came. Instead, I started noticing things. The late nights at the office, the perfume that wasn't mine, the way his phone screen would light up, at odd hours with messages he'd quickly hide. I ignored it for as long as I could, until the night I found her name on his phone. Khloe. At first, I thought I was imagining it, a mistake, a misunderstanding. But when I confronted him, my hands shaking as I held up his phone, his expression didn't hold guilt. It held annoyance. Zara, don't start, he sighed, rubbing his temple like I was nothing more than an inconvenience. "You're being paranoid." Paranoid, that was his favorite word. He used it every time I questioned him, every time I expressed doubt, but I wasn't paranoid because a week later I found the truth. A receipt for a luxury hotel, a credit card statement with a charge from an upscale jewelry store, a text message. "I miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight." I had never sent that text. That night I confronted him again, my voice raw with betrayal. "How long, Ethan?" My voice trembled, but I refused to break. "How long have you been sleeping with her?" For a moment, just a flicker of a second, I thought I saw regret in his eyes. But then, he smirked. "Does it really matter?" he said, shrugging like he was discussing the weather. "You weren't enough for me, Zara. I needed someone who actually supports me." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Hadn't I supported him? Hadn't I given everything to him? But in that moment, I saw the truth. It didn't matter how much I loved him. It didn't matter how many sacrifices I had made. Ethan had never truly valued me, and he never would. A week later, he filed for divorce. And just like that, the man I had built my life around was gone. The day the divorce papers arrived, I was at work flipping through real estate listings at my desk when the receptionist buzzed in. "Zara, there's a courier here for you," she said. "He says it's urgent." My stomach twisted into knots. I already knew what it was before I even opened the envelope. Petition for divorce. Next to the checkbox for irreconcilable differences, his name stood out like a brand burned into my skin. Ethan Harper. It was real. This wasn't some nightmare I could wake up from. I called him, my fingers trembling as I pressed the numbers. It went to voicemail. Again. And again. "Ethan, please," I begged, my voice cracking. "Can we just talk? Can we at least try?" But he never answered. Hours later, I drove past our house, the home I had decorated where we had celebrated, anniversaries where we had dreamed about a future, and I saw it. A moving truck, and Khloe, standing on the front porch, wearing my old sweatshirt, laughing as she directed the movers. I sat in my car, my fingers gripping the steering wheel so tightly they turned white. The neighbors walked by whispering, pitying me. That was the moment. I realized Ethan hadn't just left me, he had replaced me, as if I was nothing. For weeks, I barely got out of bed. I stopped answering calls. I stopped showing up to work. I stopped existing. I drank too much, cried too much, hated myself too much. But then one morning, I looked in the mirror and saw someone I didn't recognize. Broken woman. A woman Ethan had destroyed, and something inside me snapped. No more. I refused to let Ethan's betrayal define me. So I picked myself up. I poured myself into my real estate career, determined to prove that I was capable. That I was worth something, and slowly, painfully, I rebuilt my life, not for him, not for revenge, for me. Years later, I became the top-selling agent in my firm. Then, I started my own agency. I made it my mission to help women like me, women who had been abandoned, underestimated, and left to pick up the pieces. I had won. And now, standing in my open house, facing the man who once tried to break me, I realized something. Ethan didn't destroy me. He created me. And I cannot wait to watch him fall. Days pass after the open house, but I can't shake the memory of Ethan's arrogant smirk or Khloe's nervous glances. I had won that battle, but I knew, deep down, that something bigger was coming. And then, on a quiet afternoon, while I was reviewing listings at my office, my assistant buzzed in. "Zara, you're not going to believe this," she said, her voice laced with amusement. "Khloe Harper is here. She says it's urgent." A slow smile crept onto my lips. I knew this. Day would come. Send her in. Khloe steps into my office. and the first thing I notice is how different she looks. Gone is the polished, confident woman who once clung to Ethan's arm like a trophy. Her hair is unkempt, her makeup barely there. Dark circles shadow her eyes. Her designer purse, the same one I remember Ethan gifting her years ago, looks worn, like she's been gripping it too tightly for too long. She doesn't meet my gaze as she takes a seat. "Zara." She starts, but her voice cracks. She takes a deep breath, composing herself. "I need your help." I lean back in my chair, crossing my legs. "Oh?" I tilt my head. "That's interesting. Because last time we saw each other, you and Ethan were doing just fine on your own." She flinches. I savor it. Khloe bites her lip, glancing down at her hands. "Ethan's firm is in trouble. He made some bad investments, took on some shady clients, and now—" She swallows hard. "Now we're drowning." I arch a brow. "And why is that my problem?" She hesitates. Then, finally, she looks me in the eye. "Because you're the best, Zara. Everyone knows it. And we need to sell our house before we lose everything." There it is. The words she never thought she'd have to say. The humiliation of sitting across from me, the woman she once replaced, and begging for help. I should have felt ecstatic, but instead I felt something else. Power. I could play this however I wanted. I could humiliate her, drag it out, make her feel the way I once felt, small, desperate, discarded. But I don't, because I am not the woman she helped destroy. I am stronger than that. I lean forward, folding my hands together. "I'll take a look at your property," I say smoothly. "But let's get one thing clear. This isn't a favor. This is business. And I don't do charity work." Khloe nods quickly. "Of course, I understand. Of course she does, because she doesn't have a choice." Over the next few weeks, I help Khloe stage and prepare their house for sale. But as I work, I start to see cracks. Ethan, once the confident, untouchable lawyer, is now bitter and restless. Every time I see him, his suits are a little more wrinkled, his eyes a little more bloodshot. He snaps at Khloe over the smallest things. And Khloe? She barely speaks. She flinches at his tone, avoids his touch. And one evening, as we're reviewing paperwork, she finally breaks. "Zara," her voice is barely above a whisper, "I don't know how much more of this I can take." I set my pen down. "What do you mean?" She looks up at me, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "He's not who I thought he was," she admits. "He's controlling, manipulative. He yells all the time, and when he's really mad, She swallows hard, looking away. "He has a temper." A slow chill creeps up my spine. Because I recognize that look. I've been that woman. I've sat in that same silence, carrying the weight of a man's cruelty. But Khloe? Khloe helped destroy my life. Should I really help her? Should I care? I lean back in my chair, watching her carefully. "So, what are you going to do about it?" Khloe wipes at her eyes, shaking her head. "I don't know." I exhale slowly, choosing my next words carefully. "I do." She looks up at me, desperate. "You leave him, Khloe, and you make sure he never has the power to hurt you again." For weeks, Khloe gathers evidence. She documents every cruel word, every outburst. And meanwhile, I prepare my own case against Ethan. I start calling his former clients, the ones who whispered about his shady dealings, his unethical behavior. I dig through financial records, uncovering discrepancies he thought no one would notice. And then, one morning, I get a call, a frantic, terrified call. "Zara, please!" Khloe's voice trembles through the phone. "He found out about the lawyer. He's furious. He's threatening to ruin me, to hurt me." I'm already grabbing my keys. "Listen to me," I say, voice steady. You need to get out. Now. I'm going to my sister's, she sobs. But please, Zara, be careful. He's not thinking clearly. Neither am I, because I know what I have to do. I drive straight to Ethan's office, walk right past his secretary. When I step inside, he looks up, scowling. Zara, what the hell? I throw the folder onto his desk. Sit down, Ethan, I say calmly. We need to talk. He flips through the documents, photos, financial records, client complaints. His face drains of color. You're bluffing, he hisses. I smile. Try me. He lunges forward, grabbing my wrist. You'll pay for this, he seethes. I yank my arm back. No, Ethan, I say, my voice cool and sharp. You will! Months pass. Seasons change. Ethan Harper's downfall becomes the talk of the city. His law firm collapses under the weight of scandal. His partners abandon him, eager to save themselves. Former clients sue him for malpractice. The same people who once shook his hand and called him brilliant now refuse to speak his name. And Khloe? She leaves him, files for divorce, finds her own place. The woman who once stood beside him, smug and untouchable, now walks away, finally free, just like I did. One evening I sit on the balcony of my penthouse apartment, a glass of wine in my hand. The city sprawls beneath me, alive with lights and movement. It is mine now. All of it. My phone buzzes. It's my assistant. Zara, she says, you're not going to believe this. I smirk. Try me. It's Ethan. He's here. In the lobby. I pause, take a slow sip of wine, and then, because curiosity always wins, I say, send him up. When Ethan steps into my home, he looks small. His suit is wrinkled, his once perfect hair disheveled. He is a ghost of the man he used to be. The arrogance is gone. For the first time in his life, Ethan Harper looks lost. Zara. His voice cracks. Please. I raise an eyebrow. Please what? He exhales shakily, running a hand through his graying hair. I need help. I don't know where else to turn. For a long time, I say nothing. I just look at him. This man, who once belittled me, who laughed at my dreams, who tried to break me. Now he stands in my home asking me for mercy. Fate has a sense of humor. I should feel satisfaction, triumph. But instead, I feel nothing. Not love, not hate, not even anger, just emptiness. And that's when I realize I've already won. Not because I ruined him, not because I got my revenge, but because he no longer has any power over me. I set my glass down, stand up, walk to the door. You know, Ethan, I say, my voice soft but sharp. For a long time, I dreamed of this moment, the day you would come crawling back. He looks up at me, hopeful. But now that it's here, I open the door wide. I realize I just don't care. His face falls. Goodbye, Ethan. He stares at me as if he can't quite believe it. Then slowly, he turns and walks away. I close the door behind him, locking it, and just like that, I am free. That night I pour another glass of wine. The city is still alive, glowing beneath me, and I smile, because for the first time in a long, long time, I am truly happy. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.